a lot has happened over the past couple of years. And, I was watching a video on Instagram by a guy on Instagram called Ryan, what's his name? Daniel Moran. And he was saying something about this year, 2023, and it's very interesting. He said that 2023 is like, it's the first actual post-pandemic year. Yeah, because, 2020 was effed up on so many levels. Though, because my work has always been online, I didn't feel it as much. But when I took the time off to observe what was really going on in the world, how people were impacted, not just business-wise, but emotionally, relationships, psychologically, health-wise, it was crazy tough. So I think that 2021 and 2022 were just years that people use to like recalibrate their reality and like, okay, what is really going on? How can we get back in the flow of things? And so this year is a unique one because it's the first real post-pandemic year where there's almost zero travel restrictions to anywhere. Businesses are picking up again. So there's just so much that everyone can use as a comeback year in 2023. Things you were not able to do in 2021 and 22, this is your year. And I think it's ominous that it's like now in this era that a tool, I'll come to that, like Chatgpt is coming out. Because I tell people, my community, that you have no excuse anymore as a creative. You have no, right? I did a free webinar on AI and ChatGPT for creatives. And, people are going crazy. I released a paid course on it. Like, you can actually create your book and start selling on Amazon in less than 24 hours. I show them how the outline and everything. Like, there are so many new business models being created by this Chat GPT thing. So there's just so much going on this year. But let's double back a bit to the philosophical viewpoint of this. And I like that you mentioned my philosophical worldview. I've always had, a different way of viewing the world and the nature of our reality. And that drives the way that I do things, even creatively, the way that I spot opportunities. And so I'm going to share a part of that with you. There are a couple of ways that you can see the world. One of the ways is games, all right? Actual games that we play. Anybody who reads my newsletters or is on my Facebook group and you read my posts, I've always likened life to a game of snakes and ladders, right? So it's not so popular as a game right now, but when we were kids, we used to play board games a lot because there were no video games. Only really privileged kids had video games. So if we remember our growing up years, we had to make do with whatever we could to keep ourselves stimulated. Yeah. So we would go to the streets and play ball. We would play table tennis. And if we didn't have an actual table tennis, we would improvise. We'd get desks together, put something in the middle. we used to improvise something back then. Yeah. Right. So there was this game. So board games were a luxury. You remember Ludo?
Yes.
Right. Now, sometimes, even if you didn't have Ludo, we would draw it on paper. Like, goodness, those were crazy times. You remember drafts?
Yes.
I think in the West, they call it checkers. If you weren't privileged enough to have a draft board, we would draw it.
Yes.
Shade boxes, and we'll bring stones.
Yes.
Play.
Yes.
So there's one game just like that we also loved called Snakes and Ladders. It was similar to those board games, right? If you were privileged to have it, good for you. But if you're not privileged to have it, we would either draw it on paper or we would tear it off the back of cabin biscuits back then. One of those, we would tear it off the back.
Yeah.
So Snakes and Ladders was this game where, you would roll the dice and the ladders took you steps up in the game and the snakes took you backward down, right? That is one worldview of the world. And so when I end my posts, my writings a lot of times by saying, what is life but a game of snakes and ladders? It remains my prayer that you learn to choose the ladders. So that's one of the paradigms, snakes and ladders. Another way of seeing the world is the game of Ludo. Very interesting. And how does that work? Because when you look at the game of Ludo, how do you start out? It's by chance. And the way you start out life is by chance. You don't choose the family you're born into. You don't choose the circumstances of your birth. You come into this world and everything is stamped upon you. And, even your religious worldviews is what you saw in your immediate environment growing up. It formed you and you became that. And everybody would swear to death that is the correct one. But anyway, you didn't choose that. It was given to you. You don't choose the passport you are born with. So that is all chance. So you don't choose whether you are born into the royal family, in Buckingham Palace. You don't choose whether you are born into a war zone, say in the Democratic Republic of Congo. It's all by a roll of the dice. But as soon as you are thrown out into the world, like all the pieces start out inside their enclosures, right? That is you before you gain consciousness. And then the first roll of the dice, once sometimes you keep on trying, sometimes you wait a while before you get a 6. That shows how in life, some people start out early, some people start out late. That's what Ludo teaches us. But once you come out, everybody needs to now apply their wit. Have you played Ludo? And somebody who is able to score 6s is not able to play his advantage of a 6 as smart as somebody who has just 1. Sometimes you play Ludo and you get like 2-1. It's small, it looks small, but they are able to calculate the most advantageous moves of just that 2-1 that's on the dice. All right. So that's one worldview, Ludo. It's all a game of chance. But once you are out there in the world, Ludo is about making the best of whatever you roll on the dice. All right. Perhaps the most important worldview regarding games that it's in my mind right now is the game of chess. And to be very honest, full disclosure, I don't know how to play chess. I'm ashamed to say it. At my old age, I don't know. It annoys me to even say it, but I understand the basic rules. And chess is so profound. There's a reason why chess has survived so many years and is seen as the game of great thinkers, because chess is almost a mirror image of the way the world works. And so you have the queen, you have the king, you have the bishop, you have the knight, you have the pawn, you have the rook, and everyone chooses their role. If you refuse to choose your role, by default, you will be a pawn. For those who are not conversant with the game of chess, the most powerful piece is, I think, is the queen or the king. I'm not sure, but both the king and the queen are the two most powerful pieces on the chessboard. All right. And then in descending order, I think you have the bishop. Below the bishop, you have the knight. Below the knight, you have the rook. Below the rook, you have, I think, the pawn. The pawns are the most expendable pieces on the chessboard. Most people go through life as pawns. And so when you look out into the world, you look at the king and the queen, and it is given to the king and the queen the authority to create order in this world. And there is no moral way of creating order. All ways are acceptable. If a war needs to happen somewhere, it's going to happen for whatever they determine is the greater good. It is up to you to see the chessboard and determine where your place is. The tools of the king, the queen, even the bishop, and even the knights. And so one of my biggest messages pre-pandemic was personal sovereignty. Personal sovereignty means that you are Lord and master over yourself. And you cannot be Lord and master over yourself if you cannot be Lord and master over your mind. You cannot be Lord and master over what comes into your eye gates and your ear gates and what influences you. Most people on social media, they are just sitting ducks for the media. Ask anybody on social media, unfortunately, even those on this call, have you ever come across the term media literacy? Almost nobody. Trust me, I've done this on different platforms, on my community. I've asked, have you heard about media literacy? You're like, no, what's that? Only a tiny majority know about media literacy. And I tell people that, if you have children, you have no business exposing your kids to the television, to the radio, to the internet, to social media, or anything of that nature without first educating them on media literacy. The only people I know that really knew about media literacy were those who studied mass comm in the university. But apart from them, almost nobody in the secular world knows about media literacy. So media literacy is being able to educate yourself on how media operates and understanding that media almost always has an agenda. Doesn't mean you should not consume media, but you should be aware that most of the media you're going to consume has an agenda. You should now ask yourself, what is this agenda? Because they're not going to tell you this is our agenda. Every news channel will say that they are safe, they are fair and unbiased. They will all swear that they are safe, fair and unbiased. It is up to you as the person who is educated to be able to see through with your educated mind what is the political leaning, what is the ideological leaning of what I'm about to consume, what is the intended worldview that this newscaster has in mind before framing the news for me in this particular way. And that's one of the first steps of personal sovereignty. Another step to personal sovereignty is understanding how the world works geopolitically. I don't know whether I should be saying this on a public podcast because it's shameful, really, that most of our people do not know First of all, most of our people do not have Nigerian passports. They don't know why they should. Those that have passports don't know the difference between a Nigerian one, an American one, and a Canadian one.
I mean, the average Nigerian don't have a Nigerian passport. Is that what you're saying?
Surprised how many? Even your people here ask, do you find a good number here that don't have? But I've been in this game for a while, and I've seen things that shocked me. Just because, you know, the way I go through the world, I'm naturally, passionately curious. You can't say a new word to me on this call whose meaning I don't understand, and I would feel comfortable going to bed without finding out the meaning of that word. That's just me. And so how you do one thing is how you do everything. I push through the world. I try to learn a lot, right? But I'm surprised people who just, I don't know, and they just feel it's okay. It's not that deep. It's a very popular saying. It's not that deep. It's not that deep, right? You know, and you know, Olakole Shoyan once said something. That there's a way he defined education. I can't remember the way he said it verbatim, but it goes something like this. He said it's the ability or the capacity of the human spirit to question its environment, to find out what options are necessary to adopt as a matter of supreme urgency. All right? People don't question things. People are not curious. And if you were to be a first world citizen, it's okay, you'll be fine. Trust me, all these our gra messages is not that necessary. It's not that all the success, ambition. No, I've been to countries of the world where you don't need to be ambitious to be okay. You can be fine. I've lived extensively in Brazil. They have a very different culture than ours. They have a very good social benefit system. If you are hungry, it's okay. The government will take care of you. They have a very good social welfare system. You try that in Nigeria, my brother, my son, you are dead. Anybody else in any part of the world, they can afford to just be anyhow, you know, just be cool. You can't afford to be an average Nigerian. The fact that you were born into Nigeria, first of all, you have to understand that on that Ludo game, you have started the game of Ludo many steps back. While maybe the American, by the roll of the dice, perfect 6, you can start many steps ahead. You as a Nigerian, born with the kind of successive governments that we've had, with our colonial history, with where we stand in the geopolitical pecking order, in the grand scheme of things, in the game of power, you are many steps back. So when you do come into the game, you cannot afford to be unaware. You cannot afford to be not curious. You can't afford to be just anyhow, just average. No. So that is why our message, your kind of tone is very necessary in the age and time and geography that we exist today. As a matter of fact, even if you jackpot, those that have left Nigeria would attest to this. You are not still free from the identity of being a Nigerian. So no matter where you are in the world, you have to be a special Nigerian. You can't be an anyhow Nigerian. You must be the classiest, the most influential, the smartest, the wealthiest. You have to be the special Nigerian, right? I sent one of my newsletters that one of my greatest fictional characters ever growing up was a character called Othello, right? Othello was a play written by Shakespeare. And as children, if you couldn't read the entire the book, all those plays that Shakespeare wrote, there was a condensed version in modern day English called Lamb Tales from Shakespeare, small books. And they contain the summaries of most of Shakespeare's writings. And so that's how we as children were able to finish all of Shakespeare's books without reading the original text. So one of those stories I read was Othello, written by Shakespeare. Why was I drawn to Othello? Othello was the only lead character in a Shakespearean play that was Black. As a child, I was crazy about Othello. It didn't matter to me that the story was a tragedy. It ended in a tragedy. He committed suicide, you know.
Almost all of Shakespeare's stories ends up in suicide.
Right?
This guy, yeah. There's somebody.
But it didn't matter to me that Othello's story ended in a suicide. I was transfixed because Othello, according to the story, I think was originally a slave who, through his valor, proved himself in the Roman army, and he rose to become one of the most respected generals in the Roman army. So for a Black person in that time to attain such a level of respect and dignity and prominence, I was like, wow. You know, and this was me as a child. I read all about our colonial history, about slavery, and I was like, someone from it didn't even matter that the story was fictional. But the fact that Shakespeare wrote it out that way, Othello is the archetype of the extraordinary Nigerian out there in the world. Whether you find yourself in Nigeria or outside Nigeria, you have to be extraordinary. So when people look at you, first of all, you're Black. Second of all, maybe you're Nigerian. They're looking out for other indicators, and you have to demonstrate that you're not that kind of Nigerian. It's got to be clear. You're like, I mean, I won't say too much because this is a video that's going to go out there in public and all that. But if you're a Black person and you've been to countries where they are predominantly white, you know what the first impression is until you prove differently. First thing they assume, if you're in maybe a 5-star establishment, do you work here? Because in all these countries, who does the worst jobs? Africans. So when you step in there, you've got to show up different from the way you speak. One of the things that they say that shouldn't be a compliment, but says something, is when you speak so profound and they're like, wow, you don't sound Nigerian. So anyway, we've got to be extraordinary as Nigerians, as Africans. But while I was still in Nigeria, I hated that label when we say people of color. I hated that. It was when I left Nigeria and I could observe the reality outside of an all-Black nation that I'd be like, oh, see, I get it. I see why people say those things. I get it, right? It's very important to be the extraordinary Nigerian, be the Othello. Be that person amongst, an all Caucasian society, and you're the one Black person, but when they look at you, it's just excellence. And it's a wonder. They just have to, they just keep staring because they haven't seen that many Black people with that aura before. That's got to be you, the extraordinary African, be the Othello. So segue it into technology. You cannot, as a Nigerian or an African, you cannot be the last person to learn these things. How dare you? You are misrepresenting us. You misrepresent us. It makes me angry when I see a Nigerian asking me, sir, what is AI? You should be ashamed to ask me that question. Be ashamed to ask me that question. No, because people don't have shame anymore. Ignorance should make you ashamed. And people say, oh, well, ask questions. You don't ask certain kind of questions. What you can do, it wouldn't take you 5 seconds to get on Google and type, what is artificial intelligence? So when you are engaging me with a question, it's something above basic. It's a more respectable question, right? And that's because a lot of people have gone through life being comfortable, being played as a pawn. And I wrote in pawn, that is the pawn in chess. I wrote in one of my latest wisdom notes, because I have wisdom letters, I have wisdom notes.
Was it the one you wrote on fluency? I haven't read fluency, I saw fluency.
Let me see, is it fluency? No, it's not the one of... not the one on fluency. There's another one. There is a follow-up to fluency. The one on the wisdom of asking.
I like that title. I need to go and read that. The wisdom of asking. I love it.
Wisdom of asking. Because people who have been raised all their lives to be slaves, all right? Because you've got to understand that even though slavery as it existed before has gone away, it still exists. What do I mean by that? Back then, my goodness, I wish I could share a video with you, but this is a video I'll share with you later, Paul, and it's from a credible source, MSNBC.
Yeah.
There was something called the Slave Bible. Have you heard about the Slave Bible?
No, I haven't.
Okay, I'll share with you. MSNBC did a report on it. For many years, I've been sharing with my audience about how the version of Christianity that was preached to the colonies in Africa and the slaves was similar and was a corrupted version of Christianity intentionally created to make us subservient to the West. I've been saying it for many years, but I didn't have any proof. With my deductive reasoning, I could just connect and be like, no, there's no way that Nigeria will be so...
Go quiet and let me just be going and I want to sort something out for my wife.
All right, cool.
Keep teaching.
I got you. Because I would look around and I'd be like, there's no way Nigeria will be so-called so religious and yet it's so backward. And I would look at what all these entertainers, I don't call them preachers, I call them entertainers. I see what they do and what they preach and how the masses just eat these things up. And I'm like, no, there's got to be a source of this thing. And I had the theory, because then it wasn't proven. I just had a theory in my head that this thing came from colonial Christianity and how it was preached. Because I wish Pofo was here because he needs to get what I'm saying here. The version of Christianity preached to the captured slaves was one that prepared them for a paradise in the afterlife. Because as a slave, you had no hope for enjoying the good life. You had to buy your freedom with money, and very few slaves, how many slaves could buy their freedom? Or you had to escape. It was very hard to escape. You could be killed, or there was just no way. If a slave gave birth to children, those children as well were born into slavery. They were the property of the master. So there was no hope on earth for a slave to enjoy the good life. The only hope for a slave was in the afterlife. And so that's why slaves always were so spiritual, because, okay, if I can't enjoy in this life, maybe in the life to come. And that's how it was. And that was how that version of Christianity found its way as well into Nigeria through the colonies. And so a lot of Nigerians started out their brand of religion through thinking about the afterlife. So while those slave masters convinced the captured slaves and the colonies to chase a heaven in the sky, they themselves were capturing the wealth of the earth. That's slavery, but that's all the physical slavery. What I'm trying to bring out here is the mental slavery, where if a slave gave birth to a child, that slavery was inherited by that child. That slave, that condition of slavery, that status of slavery was passed down to the child. And that's how it is in the world today. When you're born into a family that is poor and that practices poverty, if you read my wisdom letters, I talk about what my definition of poverty is. Not being financially broke. No, poverty is a system. Poverty is a philosophy. Poverty is an institution. Poverty, it's a government. It's its own institution. And so it has its way of operating. It has its own culture. And so when you're born into that, that culture, that way of thinking and doing things is passed down across generations until maybe hears one crazy message from one crazy John Obidi with the crazy hair and chooses to break free, right? And so it becomes a culture mentally. And so you see that in the way such people engage with the world. Slavish mindsets. I need you guys, just write this down. There's a book I need everyone to read foundationally. It's called As a Man Thinketh by James Altucher. As a Man, two books I need everybody here to read. Everyone who's watching live and those who are going to watch the replay. Two books. If you grow up, in the life of struggle, if you think that what I'm saying is too harsh, if you think that, what I'm saying, you don't quite understand it, you might need to watch this again to catch up. If you think that what I'm saying is a bit too arrogant, that's okay. I can understand. There are two books I would recommend that you need to read as a matter of urgency. The first one is As a Man Thinketh by, it's James Allen. I said Altucher. Sorry, it's James Allen. Okay, As a Man Thinketh by James Allen. And it's a very old book. They use ancient English, but it's still small enough to read and understand and finish very quickly. There's another book by Napoleon Hill. It's less popular. Everyone knows Napoleon Hill for writing Think and Grow Rich. But there's another book he wrote that is so amazing. It's called Outwitting the Devil. Outwitting the Devil. I need you guys to please go read that book. But if you can, get the audio version of Outwitting the Devil, because they dramatized it a little bit. So Outwitting the Devil, let me give you a little primer for those who have never been into that book. It shows, it's about Napoleon Hill and his conversations with the devil, but do not get too mystical about it. It was not an actual devil. He was just using that play, the format of a play, to highlight certain philosophies and help us understand the systems of the world, and how people are born into those prisons ideologically. Okay, so it's not that was actually talking with the devil. No, it's figurative mostly. But you need to go through that book to properly understand what I'm saying. So what brought me to all of this is in how people ask questions, how people engage with the world with such slavish dispositions and such slavish mentalities. And if you grow up in Nigeria, it's a lot worse, because in Nigeria, you have this huge disparity between the rich and the poor, and how a lot of rich people use their wealth to oppress people that don't have, and how those that are oppressed also accept the oppression and are always, behaving with this, help me, sir, help her. But you see somebody doing a giveaway on Instagram and you see all of them, boom, in the comment section, acting like slavish. But you can understand where that comes from. But even when you engage with the world, you cannot engage with that slavish mind. You come to me and say, sir, what is AI? That is a slavish question. It shows that you are someone who eats out of people's hands. And when I see how a lot of people in Nigeria are manipulated by pastors, yeah, I can see why. You were born with a slavish mindset, because somebody who was born as a king is not easily manipulated. So, Mr. Paul, before you left, I was talking about slavery, and I was talking about I wanted you to get back before I went deeper into the slave Bible.
Right.
I was saying that I had a theory in my mind based on my observation on how religion was practiced in Nigeria.
Yeah.
That that Christianity was intentionally poisoned by the slave masters and given to the fathers of the faith in Nigeria to control the cattle. It was just a theory. but I had no proof until I saw this news piece done by MSNBC, where they went to one of the slave museums in America and discovered the slave Bible. Mr. Paul,
Wow.
the slave Bible is the normal Bible, but the slave masters went into it to remove certain chapters. So that place somewhere in Galatians where Paul said that now there is no slave, no master, we are all one. They removed it. That whole narrative of Moses going to confront Pharaoh, where my people go, was removed.
Can you imagine?
I have the videos on my phone. After this, I'll send it to you. It's not conspiracy theory.
So that they can control the people.
Control the people. Right. This is not any Andrew Tate or no. This is MSNBC. Thankfully, I don't know how managed mainstream media captured it, but I'll send it to you. You'll have a look. Right. And so the slave Bible removed anything that could make the slaves think that what they were going through was unnatural. But they left in verses there that said, slaves, obey your masters.
Come on now.
That was the slave Bible. But to them, it wasn't called the slave Bible. It was just called the Bible. But you see, even after the so-called freedom, the mindset had been formed. All right. So when maybe if you want to wax biblical, when we say we wrestle not against flesh and blood, meaning we wrestle not against physical oppression, but against what? Wickedness in high places. Those things are just imaginations. Every word.
Imagination. Come on now.
These are thoughts. These are imaginations. These are things you grew up hearing your parents say. These are things you grew up seeing your parents practice. If you saw your parents begging, you will see it as okay to beg. If you saw your parents acting slavishly through life, you see it as okay. If you grew up in a house where landlord was pursuing you, you see as an acceptable standard. But like when your friends, what do you say? A landlord pursuing me, but there's some people to whom that is a taboo. What? So I recommended 2 books for your audience here: As a Man Thinketh by James Allen, and the second one was Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill. That first of all, it helps to provide a cure on a mental level, on a psychological level, on a philosophical level, before I can even start mentioning these higher concepts. Because whenever people start asking me questions like, what is AI? I can understand why they're asking. It's a slavish mind. I grew up as a king. What does it mean to be a king? King, I think it was it David or Solomon who wrote that it is the glory of God to conceal a thing.
It's the matter of kings,
The honor of kings to do.
The honor of kings to unveil it. Yeah.
Do not unveil
this
nothing.
This is deep, man.
Peasants do not unveil nothing. They are too busy doing what Jesus Christ said we should not do. That is doing what's worrying about what we are going to do, what's eat or. When you're consumed with living from hand to mouth, you have no time left for the higher things of life. You have no time thinking about philosophy, questioning your reality. Is this real? Is this okay? Is this right? Are my circumstances just? Is there more out there in the world? So you just take what is there. And so you're not able to really explore this game of life well enough to determine the options that you have. Let's go back to the chessboard. The most limited piece on the chessboard is what? The pawn. It has very limited steps it can move. The king, or rather, I think it's the queen, can move anywhere, cannot move. Now the pawn, they ask me, but who passport help? You can't move anywhere. Now your local government, you are confined to. So why do I need a passport? I understand. You grew up as a slave. Kings don't ask. No, kings don't. The king will not even ask you. The king will go and Google it because he can't for his hand. So Google it. Passports. What's the benefit of a passport? Wikipedia. What is a passport? It's not your aptitude. It is your attitude. It's not your aptitude. So I'm not castigating anybody for not being educated. No, it's not about education. Though we should all be. Eventually, it's your attitude. If your attitude is right, the education will come. You will research. You will figure it out. When Chatgpt came out, right, I figured out, I said, I'm not going to rest until I figure out what this thing is and what it means for us. I'm not going to ask anybody. I spent successive nights playing with Chatgpt, looking for the economic benefits. How can Chatgpt make money? After 2 weeks of study, I did a webinar, sold a product.
That's a king movement.
That's only something like a king. Child is still on TikTok watching videos. BT Omo is taking over the world, though. Wow, amazing. Is that all? That's not a king move. That's a pawn move. Because they're watching the kings move on the chessboard, right? They're just there watching a Paul Fuan and John Obidi do webinars and sell products and travel the world and do crazy hair. Amen. Right? When are you going to take your own position on the chessboard of life? Because that is our own wish for you. We're not here trying to flex on people or stunt on people. We're trying to let you know that this can be your reality as well. But it is the honor of kings. There's a habit of kings. We research. We are diligent at researching. We question things. We have critical thinking skills. All right. And so, I looked at it, did a webinar, sold a product. It did very well. People are asking more. We want more of this. When is the next one? Want to learn, right? So that moves us into Chatgpt and AI and what this thing really is. And so what I've seen here is that this is such a tool for the creative. I'm not looking at even the part where it's going to take over jobs. Yes, it's going to take over jobs of peasants, but it will be a king's assistant. Yes, Chat, we make jokes a lot because the product I sold on AI is called AI Profits. We have a Telegram group chat for those who bought the program. And so in the group chat, we have a nickname we give ChatGPT. We call it Ifa. We call it the Ifa Oracle. So we're like, someone asked, I go ask Ifa now. Why are you asking me? Ask Ifa.
Well, that's so true. That's so true.
Yeah.
That's so true.
If I will give you the best answer.
You ask you the question.
Yeah, I just ask you the question, So the other day I was like, this thing, there's something I want to explain, but I want to use animations to explain it. And I don't want anybody, I want to do it myself. But is there nothing that is easy to use that I can just make an animation to explain what's in my head? As a king, what does a king? A king has advisors, right? And I simply went to ChatGPT and I said, I want to create an animation to explain some ideas in my head, but I need a software that is not complicated like After Effects but something that's very easy for anyone to use, drag and drop. Give me 5 options. Give me 5 options. I just went to the first.
So John, quickly before you further, that means that in this era, our ability to ask questions, quality questions, is very, very.
Of course it is. You ask, but you don't receive. Why? You ask and miss. People don't know how to ask questions. I say, sir, what is? You don't know that when you ask wrongly, you burn relationships because people see you as a burden, as a waste of time. Don't ask me, sir, what is AI? Go and figure out what AI is, then ask me a higher question like, okay, what are the ways I can use AI in my business? Sometimes even provide context. Say, okay, I've checked out some AI thing. I've tried this. How can I expand on this? Because even when you're talking to ChatGPT, that's the mentality. Give it some context.
Yes.
Give it some context. All right.
So powerful.
Sometimes I take a passage that I see online, tell ChatGPT, summarize this. It summarizes it. And I was okay, what is this thing trying to say? To tell me, it's trying to explain the importance of this. Okay, give me a unique article based on this idea in the style of a New York Times best-selling author.
Can you imagine?
People that complain about ChatGPT, they say that, it sounds robotic, sounds academic. You do not receive because you don't know how to ask. It's the way to ask, So it gives me that. Sometimes even I remember when I was trying to write one of my newsletter episodes, and I was thinking, I said, I can't remember which of them, but usually I like to tell stories. But there's something that I was trying to teach, and I didn't have a story at hand. And I told ChatGPT, I'm trying to tell people the benefits of honoring their path. Find me 5 stories in Roman mythology.
Imagine, this is so powerful.
Find me 5 stories in Roman or Greek mythology that drive this point home. It went to work. Give me this Odysseus, this one, Hercules, this one, this one, this one. I said, interesting. Expand more on the story of Odysseus. It expanded, blah, 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 blah. Interesting. If I were to add this to my article, how would you phrase it? It gives me like this, like this, like this. Interesting. If I were to create a subject line that would attract a lot of opens in the email, in the inbox, give me 5 subject lines that you would suggest to give you. Whoa. Interesting. Give me 5 more. Which do you think is the best of these 5? You will say, well, I think AI is just Jarvis, man. You watch Iron Man? It's just Jarvis.
John, hang on.
It's just
science and spirituality have met.
Yes, finally.
They've met. Jesus said, ask and it shall be given unto you. He went further to say, for everyone that asketh receives. Is that what you are saying?
Yeah, it is.
That means a kid from Ajegunle, Gundu Waterside in Port Harcourt, with internet, with ChatGPT, can make a good living.
Yeah. I don't know whether you because whenever I'm on your platform, aside just talking about philosophy and stuff, I like to give actionable value, and some money spinners that are actually reserved for members of my course. I don't mind dropping them for your people.
Please
right
drop,
now.
I beg, drop.
So there's some crazy stuff going on in my on my paid group right now with what I taught them on AI and how to make money with AI profits. It's madness. It's amazing. So all these things were used to generate content. People don't realize how it can actually be monetized. But here's the thing that people can do right now. You can go to Amazon right now. There's something called Amazon KDP. KDP means Kindle Direct Publishing. Yes. And if you're Nigerians, there's been so many courses being sold in the Nigerian internet marketing space on Amazon KDP, how to make money from it. But so far, almost nobody is teaching how to use AI. So what they do is that they go to purchase royalty-free books, PLR. PLR means private label rights, I think. And so it's books that have been pre-written that you can buy the license to put your name on it and publish as your own. However, the problem with everybody using this method is that everybody now goes to the same source and puts up the same thing. And Amazon is beginning to frown upon PLR content, right? Lola, are you a member of my course? I'm seeing you put some of my trade secrets in.
IDPLR.
Yeah. Like I said, Lola is putting, I think you're on my course because nobody knows this thing. This shows that you are inside the inner caucus. Well done.
She said I was there.
Yeah, because that's she put there is a trade secret, a huge one. Yeah. Okay. So, but the problem is everyone goes to the same source and they are just putting out the same thing. But here's the thing now with AI. You can take a book that has been written. So you can go to Amazon right now, look for the books that are trending. And from there, you can know what people want to get information on right now.
Yeah.
Because you've got to realize, forget all this thing that we're talking about, the chessboard of life, the king, the queen, the bishop, the pawn. Most people in this world are pawns, and that is their place in life. Just stop fighting it. Everyone has been given their place, and that is just the way it is. There are people who are not going to ever monetize this. They are always going to be on the consuming side of things. That is just life. It is our wish that more people become kings and come onto the production side of things, but that's not going to happen. It's the reason that Jesus Christ said with all conviction that the poor you will always have. The Pareto distribution of wealth is always going to be here. 80/20.
Yes, it's not changing. Yeah,
it ain't changing. You just decide.
It's the power law, man.
Yeah, you just decide on what side of the divide
equation you want to be. Yeah, it's true.
Or the 80 or the 20. But that equation, you got to respect it. So people are always seeking information, transformation, and all that. They don't care where it comes from. So you got to go there. What is trending on Amazon? What do people want information on? You don't have to sabi book. You don't have to. Just see what people want information on. What's the book title? What's it about? Interesting. You can go to a PLR website, buy off a PLR book for something as cheap as $5. You buy the PLR rights. People don't know it's that cheap. You buy the rights for as little as $5, and you can take that book, take one chapter, take one chapter, throw it into Chatgpt. I say, Chatgpt, summarize this chapter in one paragraph. It summarizes it. Said, okay, good. Now create a unique chapter based on this idea. You've done your book.
Put that training title on top of it, slam it.
Exactly. Yeah. Now, let's move on. Another thing that helps to sell a book is what? Is the cover image. I taught my course people, Lola and Co, the inner caucus, how to use an AI image generation tool called Midjourney to create your own images from scratch. Mr. Paul, you remember on my Facebook group, whenever I put out a post, one of the things that helps my posts to trend on Facebook is the image I use.
Yes, the images you use. Yeah.
That image before AI, that getting the right image will take me hours because I'm such a perfectionist because I need an image that tells the story. So when I say critical thinking, I need to see someone like maybe in this pose or looking at a chessboard. But the problem is that when you go to royalty-free websites, you are at the mercy of the creativity of the photographer that contributed photos to that website. Like the one I use is Pixabay and Unsplash, those two websites. So I would go to that and I would look for somebody looking, contemplative, looking meditative or thinking. So I can take that image and use it as, it's hard to find someone depicting exactly what you are saying. And then AI came with AI image generation. You can just go to a tool. My favorite tool is Midjourney. Midjourney. That's the one I use. MID, like middle.
MID, okay.
MID, mid, and then journey. One word together. Midjourney. Okay. So I have a Midjourney subscription, and I'll go on Midjourney and just type give me a realistic photograph of an elderly Black man looking thoughtfully at a chessboard, and it would draw it for me in 30 seconds. So if you look at my most recent post, if you check my Telegram channel and the posts I'm putting out there, the images there are done by AI.
Wow. I'm checking it now.
So this year, my writing has improved because I know that there are no more limits. AI can give me exactly the scenario I want. And I don't have to worry about copyright issues because the image is mine.
But John, I need you to also zero in on the fact that yes, there's AI, but it doesn't stop you from doing the critical thinking yourself.
Oh, yes. Yes, of course.
Putting your unique voice in that.
Yes, yes. Because again, I had to tell AI what I wanted. I had to be very specific. I had to say, I want an image of a Black man with gray hair,
very good,
looking thoughtfully at a chessboard.
So this is as a result of the richness of your intake of thoughts.
Yes, yes, very much so.
Yes, it's a function of the richness of your because what is reflecting is a mirror of your internal environment.
Yes, very true.
If it wasn't excellent, it's not what we are going to be seeing.
I agree.
When this Chatgpt thing came out, it was my 17-year-old that came and said, "Oh, mom, this Chatgpt," she went on and on about it. And you know, when these AI images were just coming out, she did like so many and sent them to me. I was like, okay, well done, whatever. Then she started to tell me about how they can use this thing in their degree courses and at school, essentially to cheat.
Yeah.
So I was thinking about part of what we are teaching our children are thinking skills. You know, before the teacher will tell the child something, they will do exam, you read your notes. But now we give them the opportunity to think through what they've been taught and express it in their own way. So we are saying, okay, that's 21st century's teaching. Now, with this Chatgpt and stuff, how is it not going to affect that thinking skills? Because it's someone's thinking skill that created Chatgpt. Is it not limiting? I know that the benefits are there for those of us that are here and want to write books or do so many other things. But in terms of our children being creative and thinking critically, is it not a limiting thing for them? And how do you think, what should we be doing in the schools when it comes to AI?
Okay, let me run in on something quickly now. So from what John is saying now, I run a business now. I want to start a business now in Lekki. I go to AI. I say, give me a Nicole name for a business for Nigerians in Lagos. Abidjan, that can pull in Kiniko, or is a new product. So I think it's the critical thinking that guides you to even ask those intelligent questions. So it keeps you ahead of the people. Yeah.
It's not really, I don't consider that critical thinking if you're asking some questions. I mean, I guess critical thinking is probably a relative term. I mean, if you go to some webinars, they will say something and everybody say, wow, and you'll be wondering what are they wondering about. So perhaps it's a relative thing. But my core question is, should we be, besides the skill, what should we be teaching the children, especially those in secondary school and that are trying to use these tools as disempowering? Yeah, they're not using it in an empowering way.
I love that
question. It's like when you use NLP in a disempowering way to fraudulently take somebody's money, but that's not. Yeah, that's not what it's designed for. So that's where I'm going to.
Yeah, let me weigh in on that, Ronke. And I see what you're saying, and I appreciate that question very much. And I think you're asking that question from your experience as an educator.
Yeah.
I think that is that's a very smart question. Now, Ronke has a very legitimate concern, and you have to understand that there has been no time in history where wisdom has been democratized. And if it is being democratized now, it is very smart to take a couple of steps back and question it. Yeah. And ask why. Because you have to understand, again, in this world, there are the kings and there are the slaves. I do not think that the kings are raising their children on Chatgpt. No, it's the masses that are easily excited about things like this. Oh, wow, life is easy now, right? Right. But Ronke has a legitimate concern here that, look, it's taking away critical thinking skills, taking away creativity. And what are the negatives of this? So I think that even though we, the creatives, are excited about it, we've had decades to build our creativity, Mr. Paul. We've had decades.
Yeah. Yeah.
Remember the things I was explaining earlier on about those board games and how even if we didn't have them, how we had to be creative.
Yes, to use them.
Like,
Yeah.
so we've had decades worth of experience building our own creativity. Now, when a child comes into this world and hasn't had that time to build their thinking skills, their creative skills, and you're feeding them Chatgpt, like, okay, give me a thesis on the economic impact of World War II on global economics. And they just go and type it there and take it out and submit. There's no thinking involved, So I think that in time, it's going to come down to the family unit and what yes, because you can't just throw ChatGPT at your kids. Your kids have to think. You have to tell your kids, okay, maybe watch a doc. Because I remember in university, I went to Benson Outside University. It's a private university. In our first year, there's a course we all had to do. It's called Peace and Conflict Resolution. And on one of our first lectures, the whole class had to watch a documentary on the Rwandan genocide. We had to watch that documentary. And at the end of the documentary, or at the movie, they told us to bring up our opinions. What would you personally do if you could turn back the hands of time? What would you personally do to avert the crisis? Or now that this has happened, what would you personally do in order to bring about peace and reconciliation? And everybody had to think and and so from there, we had to write a thesis and submit. We all came out of that experience changed people because most of us were kids. We have never really seen war. I mean, we heard about Nigerian Civil War, but we weren't born in that time. So most of us never really had an understanding of what those times were and a proactive worldview on those situations. There are some people who, after that course, they said they wanted to be negotiators, wanted to go into take up peace and conflict as an actual career, but that whole dance is going to be taken away from kids when they can just go and check it out. No, you've got to think and reason it, and that is one reason you've got to look. Elon Musk, for example, you would think that Elon Musk, being such a wealthy person, would have sent his kids up to some of the best schools in the world.
Teaching them by himself.
Elon Musk could not find a school that could match what he wanted to teach his kids.
So that is no school.
Wait till they teach them. What are you teaching them? What is it that you are teaching them? That there's no single school that has the curriculum. He had to create the school by himself, design the curriculum, and then hire teachers who could teach that curriculum to the kids. So some of his rich friends in Silicon Valley now send their kids to that school.
That's cool, yes.
Right. So amongst those things, they are probably going to be teaching them how to use their creative thinking because ChatGPT that we're all crazy about was created by someone. And so for our kids, even though ChatGPT is there has to be a time of maybe even controlled supervision over how they use ChatGPT. Kind of like you can't watch TV from this time to this time. The same thing with AI. You shouldn't use AI to do this. Yes, it can do it, but the more you rely on this, the more it takes away from you, right?
Fantastic.
I remember when in primary school, they used to make us do this mathematical drills with our minds. This plus this times this. When we could use calculators, said no, we want to make you quick-minded. All right, 1,347 times 258. What do you think? Run the drills in our heads. They didn't spoil us with calculators. And you hear some things from the school of the poor. Again, if you read my writing, it's what I mean by the school of the poor. The indoctrination of the masses. They come out and say, "Oh, school na scam." Back in school, we did quadratic equations, and I have never seen, and I've never used it for one day in real life. That is not a smart thing to say, because if you look at life is mathematics, man. Mm-hmm. The game of life is predicated on math and science and many other aspects of life. I've written some articles explaining how science is life. When you look at diffusion, for example, right? What is diffusion? Diffusion is the movement of particles from mostly gaseous particles from a region of higher concentration to one of lower concentration, right? That is the principle that governs how you expand internationally. You have to expand from a place of where you are supported, your home base, in Nigeria. You blow in Nigeria first, right? Higher concentration. And then you go to a place of lower concentration. The Burna Boys have to be big in Nigeria first. Wizkid, right? They have to be big. Davido, for example, people didn't know this, but Davido had actually been a musician before in the US.
It didn't work.
But he came to Nigeria, blew up. Now he's big over there. Diffusion. You have to move from a place of higher concentration to a place of lower concentration. Trevor Noah, the same thing. He was a fantastic,
very big in South Africa.
And then from that support, he moved over there, became big there. But where that come from? It's science, it's diffusion, right? The same thing, osmosis. There are so many examples there. Okay, life is mathematical, life is scientific. One of the codes are hidden in these things, and if you can look into it, you will see. All right, they are, and the powers that be, they respect these principles, they understand these principles, and so everything is all math. Anyway,
let's take another question from other people. Right, cool. So that so we've got Lola. After Lola, we'll go to Balkis. Lola,
hit me, Lola.
That Ronke raised. But on the contrary, I want to believe that just like Daddy J.O., like we call him in the inner caucus, I want to believe that his point is valid in the sense that I want to believe that Chatgpt or AI or whatever will rather give speed to people if it is properly harnessed, to give speed. Because if you have like 1,000,001 things that you want to do and you have an assistant that will help you to handle most of it, it will give you speed. You'll be able to move faster than you would have if you have to use your brain to reason out everything.
Yes, sir.
Take, for instance, just within these few days that we did a training, I can't quantify the amount of speed I have had. I have asked ChatGPT to help me as much as designing a food plan for my home. Because at times I'll have to rack my brain. How do I put this thing together? I have a lot I do. I go to school. I am a mother. I am a wife. I do business. So how do I put all these things together? So the same way we have our children who are growing up and we want them to take the world. And so if we channel them properly, if we expose them the right way to this thing and they are able to work with it the right way, that it won't affect their critical thinking. Because take, for instance, you can't just tell ChatGPT, I want to sleep. Show me how to sleep. You must be able to tell ChatGPT what you want. You must be exact in your question. You must have thought it through in your mind before you feed it with the question, with the right data, before it can feed you back what you want. Yeah. And if it gives you what you don't want, you still have to think again. That,
keep modifying it until you get exactly what you want.
How do I remodel or ask this question that will make ChatGPT to give me what I want? So I think it's helping me to think more. It's helping me to think more than I would have.
Okay, let me wait on that. I agree very much. I mean, I should probably be the number one evangelist of ChatGPT because I mean, I created a program on it. You know, I teach people how to use it and all. But you see, one reason why I'm great at ChatGPT is because of my background and my education. We grew up in the lower middle class of Nigerian society, almost poor, by many standards, maybe poor. But one thing my father never joked was education. But I had lesson teachers upon lesson teachers. I was drilled. Because I'm naturally talented, it made me lazy. Even I'm going to admit, it made me mentally lazy. So if I knew that by getting maybe 60 out of 100, I could stay in the class, I would just get 60. Why am I getting 100? My father knew that. I don't know how he knew, but he figured that out. And I was drilled in my house. Anything below 98 was not acceptable. So I never had any free time. I'm not saying this is a perfect way to raise children, raise a child, but I'm just trying to bring out something there. There's so many things I was pushing to do. While my mates during holidays would go to what was reading in Lagos then, like a parent Tropicana, water parks, go on vacations, I was going through lessons. I had to read adults, not, when I say adult, I mean books that were complex topics for adults to read. I had to read those things, all right? I had to read those things and explain them to my dad. I was a child when I had to read all the books that Shakespeare wrote before I was 9 years old. Wow. So a lot of the ways that I see the world and it comes across to my hearers, my listeners as exceptionally brilliant came from those formative years. I was listening to this man, Bruce Lipton.
Yes. The mind body guy.
Oh, the mind body guy. That guy, he was given an interview to this London Real.
Yes, Unreal podcast guy. I've forgotten his name. Yeah. Brian Jones. Brian something.
Yeah. So on that episode, he said something about how most of what we as human beings do and how we engage the world comes from our first 7 years of programming. Most of what forms what we call the subconscious mind in our adult years comes from our first 7 years of programming. And boy, my first 7 years on this earth were intense. I was choked full of education, filled to the brim. There's so many things I learned in those first 7 years that I'm only just remembering now as an adult, and they're coming in handy, right? So in those first 7 years, I wasn't given an easy way out. I wasn't even allowed to have a calculator. The best I had then, do you remember abacus? Gen Z don't know abacus. The only thing I was allowed to have was an abacus. Like, I had to learn, and then, it was a thing of pride for my parents when their first son, John, would come and speak in public as a kid, so intelligent, and they'll be like, wow, this kid is so intelligent, so eloquent. Like, I had these advanced thinking skills at that age, right? And this helped me growing up. Now, I like what Lola said, that, okay, there's a way to teach kids to use, there's a right way to show them how to use Chatgpt, but what is that right way? How do we decide what is the right way? It is easier for we as adults to use this thing because we have had years of education, depending on how exactly you grew up, what was your education style, how you were groomed. But these kids need superior techniques. And if one just leaves them with ChatGPT, it's going to help me think. No, it's helping you as an adult think, right? Because it builds on the foundation you as an adult.
You already have, yeah.
You've had a long life of education and experience, and you can bring these things to bear. I tell ChatGPT, like, okay, cool. Tell me a story. I can tell ChatGPT now, tell me a story that has a similar outcome as that of Othello from any of the novels that you have.
For those that may be asking, different ones. What's your favorite or website in terms of the GPT? There are different tools. There's Word, different ones. Which is your favorite, so we can recommend
ChatGPT. Just
go to ChatGPT. Good.
ChatGPT beats all of them.
Yeah.
So we know to ask. And remember, I started this thing saying that there is no time in history where wisdom has been democratized. It's not possible. Mr. Pafo, let me emphasize on this thing.
Right.
It is not possible for the powers that be to just dash wisdom to the populace.
So they have an agenda, right?
Yes. And it is got to be us to figure out what it is. How does the rich man educate his child on ChatGPT? There's something I wanted to write about, all right? Thank you. I like what Roque put in the comments. She said they don't expose their children to smartphones and the internet like poor people do. I like that. And that is very... Mr. Paul, there's something I was going to write about, but I haven't had the time to write about. It's called the Prometheus effect. And, I give it that name. And it's from the story of the Roman god. I don't know if it's the Roman or the Greek god of... the god of fire, Prometheus. Now, who was Prometheus? Prometheus was a god, but they called him the god of fire, even though he did not invent fire. I was very curious, like, why did you call someone a god of fire when he did not invent fire? But this is the story of Prometheus and why the story is important to us. Now, only the gods had access to fire. Mankind did not have access to fire at some point in history. Well, this is the mythology. None of that is real, the mythology. Mankind didn't have fire. With the Dark Ages, man didn't have fire. But fire was reserved for the gods. Prometheus was trying to be a savior. So, he as a god was allowed to use fire. But he stole fire from the gods and gave it to man. He stole fire from the gods and gave it to man. And mankind, by demonstrating thanks to Prometheus, named him the god of fire. But guess what? The elder god, the king of the gods, Zeus, found out about what Prometheus had done. And so Prometheus was chained for all of eternity. And his punishment was to be chained there, and an eagle or some kind of a bird would come and be eating his liver every day, to eat his liver and to grow back continuously for all of eternity. That was his punishment. He was there for so many years until, by luck, somehow Hercules found him, killed the bird and freed him. But he had suffered there for so many years. All right. So what is the Prometheus effect? The gods, and when I say the gods, I mean human beings, all right? Human beings who live on earth as gods. They are not allowed to give fire to the peasants, or else there's a punishment. If they give you anything that looks like, if they give you fire, they will be punished. When I say fire, I mean how to become like them. They are giving it to you freely. Ask deeper questions.
Why?
Are you that benevolent? Why is ChatGPT free? All right. I appreciate it. I teach how to use it, but you've got to use that fire with caution. You've got to use that fire with caution.
All right, John, let's ask one more question and then we'll call this class. Ask your question.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Paul. Thank you, Mr. John Obidi. For clarification's sake, I've heard about I've read a couple of your charts for so many times, but in my mind, I never thought of you as being very young. I still chatted Lola about that this evening. He's so young. And I'm like, wow, okay. My
Okay,
okay.
sure.
Yeah.
First of all, we hang on. I'm sure you're saying to yourself that, man, this book review on Wednesday, I gotta go deep, man. This guy said
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We have to sit tight.
anyway, go ahead, yeah. I was joking, yeah.
Okay, so when Lola was talking to me about ChatGPT, as she was talking, usually when we talk together, we usually have our computers or something on hand. Because when you talk, before the person finished talking, you must find out what the person is talking about. You can't be behind. So when she was talking about it, I'm like, this thing, she was explaining, and said that she got to know about the class late, so she couldn't tell me about it. Usually we drag each other into most of the things we do. So if she's going somewhere, she drags me. If I'm going somewhere, I drag her. So we always do that. So when I was talking to my 15-year-old son about it, he just tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Mommy, you're coming up." And I looked at him like, "You already know about this thing." He said, "Yes, what do you think? It's old." I'm like, "It's old. It's just started yesterday." "Yeah, mommy, it's already old. New ones are already coming out." And I now looked at him and said, "What do you mean new ones are already coming out? He's just 15. And I know that the school in the US, they have a lot of ways because most times they submit their assignments online. So they have a way of screening how the things they use, how the answers
Yes.
they submit. They
Yeah.
have a way of screening it to know, put it
Whether they
up
copied, yeah.
somewhere or something. So I think if Miss Ronke is worried about that, I think maybe schools in Nigeria need to upgrade a little bit more, because the children are not smiling. Oh, he's 15. He knows that there are other AIs that are working. He knows how to use all these AIs. Me, I'm just learning about one, and he's already telling me, "Oh no, mommy, you're coming up. You're coming up." So it's something that we cannot stop them from knowing. It's better we let them know it, but also, get to let them know the reason why they don't need to use it now. They already know about it, even if they are not talking about it. They already know a lot of things that we don't even know.
I do get what you're saying about your son. That one of the apps or the tools that they use to search is Turnitin. They use it to, even when I'm doing a psychology master's, they use it to check what we write. So if you're plagiarizing, they will know that you've plagiarized. That's not where I'm talking about. I'm talking about primary school children. They are aware of this thing. Little children are aware of these things. So my own is that we are creative, I'm a creative. I think I have books that I use to create my thoughts, because I like my things to be different. My problem now is when young children, as young as primary school children, are not able to think or solve problems. They can't solve everyday problems. They're reliant. It's very unattractive for me when if I go to buy something and they want to give me change, they have to check the calculator all the time. To me, I'm already thinking somebody that is dumb blunt. I believe that it's getting worse when everything you have to go to a gadget. So when you have true life issues, how do you think critically to solve your problem? Because I believe that all the answers to our problems resides in the human heart, not in an AI tool. Where is the place of reasoning that God has given us? Even the Bible says we should study to show ourselves approved. But we are depending solely. Don't get me wrong. I love AI. I'm already using it too. I get it. But I know that I'm somebody that's just like John. My father sat us down. It was scripture. I know scripture in English. I know it's in Yoruba. He made us to learn so many things, to read books. So my library in my home, I have 4 libraries. I have over 1,000 books, and I read them. I'm addicted to reading. I'm addicted to YouTube. Even the one that John told us many years ago, think this thing, heal and think it. I already have it. There's one old ebook that was roaming around then, But these things are foundational. What will be the foundation for our own children? Is it this AI?
I also talk about the fact that will this replace some of your jobs?
I mean, technology is amazing, to be honest. But there's always the human element, which I think is critical. And we must, like John said, don't sit behind. Don't wait for people to tell you about it. Be at the forefront of it. I mean, even if it's replacing us, we should be the ones that are telling people about it and sort of guiding them in that path. But I'm going to move away, to be honest, from this conversation. John always amazes me. I follow him on Instagram and on Facebook. And of course, if I read all his letters, there's something that you said, John, that I thought was really critical, especially for I mean, some of us are not as young anymore, but we still have young minds. And the times where I sort of find myself in that space where I'm wondering what's the point. And so it would be great if you could share with us or share with me if nobody else wants to hear. What are some of the YouTube channels that you listen to? You have shared 2 books with us already. I have both books and I will read them again to read them from John's point of view this time around, hopefully.
Yeah.
What are the sort of things that you use to renew your mind to help you understand the fact that, look, it might not always be the way you want it to be, but just being in that zone where, you know, you can pull up something and say, you know what, I'm in this zone right now. Let me pull up something to just change my way of thinking and renew my mind and get me back on track. So if you could just share maybe 2 or 3 other resources, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, that's a very good question. So your
Lovely.
resource,
Yeah, I like that question. And my choice of resources comes down to a matter I take very seriously, and it's called identity. Identity. And that's why when I was talking about those games that mirror models of the world, I talked about Ludo, I talked about Snakes and Ladders, I talked about chess. How a king renews his mind is different from the way a pawn or a commoner renews their mind. How a commoner grieves is not the same way a king grieves. A commoner will go and grieve in the comment section of Instablog. Hey, something then do me. Yeah, that's your identity. Kings don't do that. When a commoner wants to be educated, they have where they go. When a king wants to be educated, he has where he goes to. But first of all, you have to realize that, especially for those who were not born into that identity, if it's something that you had to work, if it's an identity that you had to work to achieve, you have to remind yourself of that identity every single day. You have to have things around you that remind yourself of that identity. Find exceptional is his personal development angle. Whenever Paul Fo is talking about personal development, I'm always listening. There's one thing that Paul Fo said years ago that he does. I think I brought him on my community to speak to my people. And there's one thing he said there. And he said every morning he writes his goals down afresh and reads them aloud. Now, he didn't stop at just reading them aloud every day. No, he said he has to write it again from scratch every single day.
Today I did it.
That is such a crazy neurological exercise.
Very powerful, man.
And so it's something that reminds you not just of where you're going, but at your core, what your identity is. If you are not consistently reminded of who you are or who you have chosen to be, the world will give you their own identity. And you have to understand that the world is not going to randomly throw you an identity of being a king or a queen. No. The world will try to throw you into the 80%. Because the 20% need the 80% to survive. If everybody became woke, who will be the gardeners? Who will be the gate men? So the world will constantly try to keep that divide, and that divide is kept by, first of all, giving you an opinion of self, and then based on your own opinion of self, you are the one that will sabotage. You will go and eat where such people eat. You will go and read the kind of books they read. On social media, you will go. So your identity, first of all, you've got to be reminded of that every day. From the way your room is designed. When you look at how royalty arrange their households or their castles, their palaces, one of my favorite attractions anywhere in Europe is castles. If you go to Germany, Austria, Hungary, I love their castles. You see how the castles are designed. Why do they have so many frames and pictures? You see sculptures of great people who have come before. Before you walk from this room to this room, you pass through a hallway of sculptures and paintings and imagery on the left and on the right. Why? Because when they are raising the princes, they are indoctrinating them. This is who you are. This is where you come from. This is what we do. This is who we are. This is how you engage with the world. So you are always reminded of that identity. And so when in your house, you have all these, frames that have all these sayings, these affirmations, or these images of great people that you are modeling. And these books, some books you may not, there's a book I bought not to read. I've never read it. I just like seeing the title. And that is a book by Tyler Perry called Higher is Calling. I just like seeing Higher is Calling every time I wake up. I never read the book. I just want to be seeing that title. And the book, Tyler Perry was by the side looking up like this. I want to be seen. That was 2018. That's all I wanted to be seen. 2018, that was my motto. Higher is Calling. I wanted to be seeing it. So first of all, your identity, you want to remind yourself of your identity every day. Now, naturally, because of who you are, your identity, you go on YouTube, there are certain things that will start coming to you. But this is, right? We have a word for that. We have the reticular activating system. The subconscious mind, right? And what it does is it's like what we call yellow fever in Nigeria. Yellow fever is the traffic warden, all right? It lets information come in or restricts it from coming in, all right? And it's based on who you are. You start seeing these things. All these things that exist for kings have always been around you. But the moment you step into that identity and you indoctrinate yourself in that identity, your eyes will open, you start seeing them.
Yeah.
So first of all, second of all, you have to start, it's now a paradigm through which you start seeing the
Seeing
world.
the world.
Again, those two books are foundational. As a Man Thinketh, it's a very short book. You can finish in less than a day. But then, very important, you must go read that book by Napoleon Hill, Outwitting the Devil.
The devil.
It goes deeper into how the education system and all those things are infiltrated to groom some part of the population in a certain way and another part in a certain way. Then on YouTube, you need to switch up your YouTube recommendations and make sure that things that you are seeing are from people whose thoughts you admire. And so when I want to go into an aggressive mode when it comes to selling, I just like to watch multiple videos of Grant Cardone. I just put that guy on repeat. I just see him shouting and yelling and all that. You're sell or be sold, man. I gotta keep seeing that, because if you don't remind yourself of those things, all those feelings of I'm not feeling, I'm feeling. He will tell you, come on, man, you don't do what you feel like. You do what you're supposed to do.
Or Eric Thompson, or Eric
Thomas.
Eric Thomas, yeah.
Unless you have to want it as much as you want to breathe.
Yeah.
You gotta want
this mode, man.
Or maybe if Popo can just create some kind of mixtape recordings where Popo is always shouting, I'm on top of my game, man. I'm on top of my game, man. You gotta have these things charging you up. Otherwise, it's of life will just call me. So all these guys, Eric Thomas, I love Eric Thomas, Grant Cardone, love him. I like Jordan Peterson. He helps you.
Yeah, brilliant guy, man.
Thinking.
Great man. Man.
And many others. Like I don't have an offhanded list. Those are just a few guys I remember right now. But these are the areas that really get me thinking.
John, one person's hand has been up since. Hazel will ask your question. John answers it, and we call this class.
I'm here for you. Hit me.
Hazel, go ahead. Aquila.
Okay. Good evening, John Obidi.
So make it quick, make it sharp.
Okay.
Hi, Hazel.
I actually wanted to ask. Ajayi asked it and John has answered it. I wanted to ask, how do we cross it? No, he spoke about peasants and kings. So if I want to get into the identity of a king, how do I cross it? Because I don't believe I was meant to be a peasant. I feel like I'm achieved becoming a king. So you've touched on that. Thank you so much for how you explained it. But in terms of the Chatgpt, do I need to have like a coding knowledge on Python, on other codes for me to be able to properly utilize?
Not at all. No, just Google it. Just pick it, follow. No, you don't need it at all.
Yeah, you don't need any programming knowledge. But here's the thing. I'm glad you asked that question because there's a use of ChatGPT that people are not seeing, and that is for coding. So if you or your child or someone close to you has ever wanted to become a programmer or a coder, this is the best time to learn coding. So I say this because I studied computer science in university. So I used to be a programmer.
Okay.
I learned Python, PHP, Visual Basic, C++, and all of those things.
That's
back then, when in school, they'll give us programming exercises and assignments. One of the websites we used to go to was Stack Overflow. So, we go to Stack Overflow, and maybe when our code is not working right, or there's one part of the code we need to plug in to make the whole thing work. We go to Stack Overflow, and we usually always had an answer there, but not all the time. It was based on you would ask a question on Stack Overflow, and programmers from all over the world would answer you and help you out, like Reddit. But now, people have not realized that ChatGPT can write code.
Wow. That's a good question.
There's a king you need to follow. His name is Naval Ravikant.
Yeah, very brilliant guy. The guy, he wrote the book, The Almanac of Naval Ravikant, yeah.
And he didn't even write that book because all these kings, they don't have time to write books.
No,
he had to go and compile and make it in his name, put all his writings and put it together into a book.
Yes.
The same thing with Peter Thiel.
Yes.
That his book,
it was by Blake. It was a student in the class. The student was taking notes.
Yes, in the class.
But John, you brought on another dimension, how kings think. So Eric Jorgensen saw Naval tweets going viral. In output, I said, I can turn your tweet into a book. The man endorsed it. They call it permissionless apprenticeship. He's an apprentice, but he doesn't need permission from the king to become an apprentice. The same thing
Yeah.
with Blake. That's what Blake did. It was just his notes in class. The guy was teaching, but he was sharing the notes on the internet, and then the notes went viral. That's how guy turn this your stuff into a book.
Yeah.
And today is so that's how kings think. They don't need it's permissionless. Permissionless apprenticeship.
Yeah.
This has been a part conversation.
So this
dope,
the
man.
thing about the programming. So one king you should follow is Naval.
YouTube.
And there's something Naval put out some years ago. It's a
tweet storm.
Not a tweet, not just that one. There's one series of podcasts he just did once and released.
How to become wealthy?
Thank you. How to become wealthy.
How to become wealthy. Go to YouTube, it's there.
It's free on YouTube.
It's free. It's very good. It's very good.
Yeah. There's something.
John, let me even share with something quickly. It was because of what Naval said in that tweet storm and in that stuff. He said, rich people don't just depend on salary, they have equity. I was riding my bike, so why that thing resonated with me. That was when I started taking a percentage of sales when I coach teams. Yes. That was
the king.
I started my retainership business.
Yeah.
Where I do the training for a company by 4 months, 3 months. They pay me every month to do it, but I get an upside when they hit a sale.
Yeah.
An extra that company gave me 2 million naira first.
Yes.
Apart from the fee, it was through that Naval teaching from the Almanac of Naval Ravikant. So what John is saying is so powerful. Knowledge is powerful, and kings act. They act. They have a bias for action, extreme bias for action. They act and then they course correct as they go.
Yeah.
So it's permissionless apprenticeship.
Yeah. So there's a reason I brought up Naval. I have to just give that little background so you can respect just the wealth of his mind. So inside that How to Get Rich series, he was listing the factors of production and how it has changed in our era.
Yes.
So back when we were kids in school, we learned in business studies 4 factors of production:
land, labor, and capital,
and entrepreneur.
Yes. Naval said now is code, media, and I don't conceive that in bro.
Awesome.
Media. And what that said that when you are sleeping, code is working for you.
Thanking you.
Thinking a lot. It was very powerful.
Mr. Paul, so what is the factor of production you are using right now?
I'm using media.
Amazing.
I'm using media.
Anybody can use it now. But
yes,
here is the other factor of production that used to have a high barrier of entry, and it was what?
Code, yes. And now there's even a no-code movement now. John, John, don't even go far. I know of a guy on Twitter, right? Paid $300,000 last year. Small boy. Do you know his business? He teaches people how to use Notion.
Imagine that.
Guys, do I tell you guys about Notion? Do I tell you guys about Notion? There you go. Hello, guys. Answer me now, guys. We always talk about Notion. That note again. This guy, I want you and VC. We are still. You listen to this thing. This boy made $300,000 last year. All he does is he teaches you how to templatize Notion. And Notion is no code. He made $300,000. And what he did also is also in connection with Naval's book. One of the laws in that Peter Thiel's book is he calls it the power law. He said in the power law, like what? Well, this class is powerful. He said in the power law, he said don't do plenty things in the power law. You start with one thing. You concentrate your energy on that thing. That's the power law. He said John talks about, is it diffusion now? When he said that it starts from an area of concentration before it moves out. But people, they've not concentrated. They begin to spread themselves too thin.
Yeah.
This is
having a little or minimal impact when you act out that way.
John, I don't know if you have a product that can help them.
But there's a reason I brought up Naval. I've not still landed that reason I brought up Naval.
Sure, go ahead.
So one of the things Naval, I'm taking it step by step so I can land on Hazel's thing about code.
Sure.
So he mentioned the new factors of production. So if business books were to be rewritten for our time, they would rewrite those factors of production. And he mentioned code, media, and some other things, right? Now, we are using media right now, but that one code has had a high barrier of entry for a long time because programmers, you have to learn programming, you have to be good, or when you're hiring programmers, you got to pay a lot of money. But people don't realize now that Chatgpt writes code, guys. It writes code, complete code. So if you've ever thought that you would like to learn programming, this is the time. And here's why. Let me make it full circle for you. When I was learning programming a couple of decades ago, we used to use this Stack Overflow to get code snippets. So let's say we are designing a calculator and I can do the on and off button. I can do 1 + 1, but I don't know how to do multiplication on my calculator app. I will go to Stack Overflow and ask programmers, please, can you guys give me code that I can add to my program that can help me do multiplications? And coders from India, from Pakistan, they would contribute free of charge, and you will take it, add it to your code, and then everything works. Now, you can just tell ChatGPT, I'm writing a program in Python to do multiplication on this app, or to create a stock-taking application. Give me a piece of code that helps connect to a database in Notion. And ChatGPT will give you correct working code that you can plug in. So this is the best time to actually learn that. Do you know that even Stack Overflow has banned submissions from ChatGPT?
Wow.
Because it's threatening them now. The whole essence of ChatGPT was for people that were learning programming to lean on it to get resources to help complete their code. But now ChatGPT is your Stack Overflow, right? So if you ever had an interest in coding, you can do it right now. Just tell ChatGPT, write me a code in Python that connects to a database and shows me the top 3 transactions, whatever. Just tell it to do anything, and it's going to do that for you. All right. So that's my take on code. You don't need to learn how to code, but it can really enhance you if you ever thought of going into coding. Coding is a huge factor of production. One of my companies is called App Canvas. It's a software company that helps people learn how to, that helps people create mobile apps without coding, or production that is working for me on the internet while I sleep. That's code. They're able to use the software and they keep on moving. You can be able to get into that using ChatGPT and
it's very powerful, very powerful. And even media too. Barriers to entry of media has dropped. We needed a radio station to have like a podcast. Now anybody can have a podcast, and now you can actually, determine. Look at the ranking of my podcast that was just released. Number 1 in Malaysia as of yesterday.
Can you imagine?
Yeah, as of yesterday. So there's no limit, guys. There's no limit, guys.
Imagine. I mean, it's
guys. Do you know that there are people that all they write about is about Amazon, nothing else?
Yeah.
In the internet, you can build your own pond. And only you exist in the pond. The guy writes only about Amazon. One guy writes only about Apple.
One guy writes only about Pokemon.
I'm telling you, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Do you have like a program where they can sign up or whatever? I don't know, like a class or something.
Let me quickly ask. I want to ask a short question. Sorry about that. You don't care push again. John is used to me asking question. App Canvas, I bought it.
Yes.
When you did it, but I didn't know what to do with it. How is ChatGPT going to help me because I saw your message about it expiring and something like that. But I bought it and I thought it was something I'll be able to use for the school. Now, the follow-up question is, now that ChatGPT is doing coding, even for those that are not coding, my 6-year-olds in my school are coding already. If they get a hang of ChatGPT, should they know it now? Now, my daughter and I also exchange, my 17-year-old, we exchange all this, she wants her mom to be woke, all these tech things. Now, she probably even already knows that it does coding because she's very smart. What is the benefit? For me, I always have fears about things like this. I'm not saying that it's not good. It's good. I mean, we're in our 30s, we're in our 40s. I'm talking about the 6-year-old now, telling a 6-year-old that is already reasoning and thinking and problem solving when they're coding. And you know the impact of knowing how to do this thing. Now, am I supposed to speak to the coding teacher and start telling them they should use ChatGPT at 6 years old?
Yeah, so it's important that they go through the fundamentals of learning how to code. They need to understand data structures, understand syntax, understand the basic principles of code. They should be able to know what clean code looks like. They should know how the best coding frameworks work, so that if someone if you're managing a team that is a programming team, I mean, look at all these companies that you work with code from remote teams all over the world. All right. And maybe one team is in Pakistan and they're pushing a piece of code to GitHub. Another team is in the UK pushing another part of the code to GitHub. Your daughter should be able to understand how this whole thing works first. When they have gotten an appreciable grasp of the fundamentals, then they should be exposed to ChatGPT. Because when you layer ChatGPT on top of the fundamentals, she's going to be a superstar. Why? ChatGPT will become her complete coding team. It will just be her team, but she needs to know how to manage that team and their contributions into making the final product.
All right, this is a good place to stop this class.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
I don't know, you want to talk, I'm sure you have 1 or 2 products that
yes,
be of benefit to members of the community that they want to get.
there's a premium product. I mean, Lola was on it. You know, she's in that private group. So it's called AI Profits. There we talk about, first of all, the fundamentals of AI for creatives, and 3 business models that you can use to make money with AI. Because, you know, when you look on the internet, people are, you know, using AI to just play games mostly. They're just talking about, wow, it's amazing. But this thing is monetizable, right? You can make AI generated images and sell online. People don't know that's possible. It is possible. People are making money from that. You can use that to write books for on Amazon. People are making money from that. And there are other business models that AI has that we teach in that course. Lola is a graduate and a current student of that course, and it's just amazing. So it's called AI Profits. You can get it. There's a URL. I'll put it in the comments.
Yeah, put it in the
so
comments.
you can have a look at it. It doesn't have a URL, a direct URL, but let me just put it there. Just say.to/AI Profits. So the URL I'm going to put there is going to take you to the free webinar first of all, and so it's AI workshop. So look at the comments, hsa.to/AI workshop. So it's going to.
So you guys save that or click on it and go there. Yeah.
So you're going to register for the free workshop. You can watch the replay right now, and then from the replay you can get access to get the actual course. But the replay itself teaches you a lot about ChatGPT and how to use it for your business ends.
Wow, this has been a fascinating conversation. What do we say to John Obidi, guys?
Thank you, John Obidi. It was an
Thank you,
awesome
Hazel.
session.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm blown.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, John Obidi. God bless you.
So
Thank you,
you guys. So how are you gonna apply this to your business? Who will share one or two people? Like immediate application, immediate application, immediate application. Is your business powered by code or media? What is the immediate application? Who wants to share? What are you going to apply immediately, man?
Well, I've started to think about changing my thumbnails on my YouTube channel. That's one thing that it's because I'm a creative. So I'm already thinking of that. Then I have
go to vidIQ. It's a very good place to generate good thumbnails. vidIQ.
But I love the AI looking ones. I used it today on
vidIQ has been integrated with AI now.
Yeah, PixArt too is doing it. PixArt, because I pay for that one and they're doing
Fantastic.
it. So I'm thinking
So you can
more of that.
Could someone else will you learn in this class? What are you going to use?
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. Thank
Hi,
you so
Mide.
much. Thank you so much, sir. I'm actually a freelance content writer, and immediately
The lady in India now.
everybody has been shaking that. Oh my God! For freelancers, like this AI is coming to take our work and all of those things. But from everything I've learned now, it's not just about coming to like drop crappy content. Like I learned that now you can, the prompts you input on AI. So now, to me, I'm no longer seeing AI as a threat. I'm seeing it as a tool. I'm seeing instead of a takeover, I'm seeing it as a tool to, boost my freelancing, to boost my content writing and the kind of, quality of work I give to my content because of, strategic thinking and putting in the right prompts, the right question every time I need to create content. Thank you.
That's lovely. That's lovely. Well done.
Praise God.
Well done.
All right, everybody. This has been a fascinating conversation. God bless you. I'll drop the replay for the community to see. I'll drop this on YouTube as well. John Obidi, thank you so much, man. You're my bro, man.
Thank you
I
so
learned
much
a
for
lot.
having me anytime.
Yeah, so guys, follow John, join his community, listen to him, follow his letters. It's very, very good. It's committed to the crafts. He's committed to the crafts. Yeah, some of us are artisans.
I want to be as committed as you, Mr. Paul.
Yeah, committed. Somebody wants to be like, do you know why in those days people to put their names on anything that they created? Is because they are artists and their soul is in it. You know that this is from this person. So well, God bless everybody. Thank you all. I love you all. God bless you. Talk to you guys. See you guys in Money Ginger in the morning. Tell your friends to join the community by getting value from this. On the 24th, we have Bridget Adeyemi. That lady sold the house for 1.5 billion naira in 48 hours. You want to listen to our talk on the 24th? That's going to be a banger. Let's go. Talk to you guys tomorrow. Love you all. Let's go. Bye.
Bye, sir.
Bye. Thank you so much.
I mean, speaking about selling yourself and learning how to sell, all right? I put together 2 of my books, Irresistible, How to Attract Your Ideal Customers, and 15 Simple Ways to Sell Anything to Anyone, plus 2 of my past webinars, 5 hours each, 10 hours of great content about sales and marketing, plus 23 book summaries, including this one that I'm just reading right now, that I'm doing a podcast about right now. I summarize the book and its application to your business. You get all of that for less than $10. If you want that, click on the link on the show notes. If you are listening to this on Spotify, the link on the show notes if you are watching me on YouTube, or if you are listening to this on Apple Podcasts, and get that. A lot of people have been getting it, and somebody said to me that, you mean I got all of this value for less than $10, Paul Fu? It feels like I cheated you. Before I get into that, I want to thank we have a new presenting sponsor for the Paul Fu podcast now. Woo! I'm happy to announce that Seller is now the presenting sponsor of the Paul Fu podcast in this season of the Paul Fu podcast. Do you have a book inside of you? Do you have a creator business inside of you? Seller is an e-commerce platform that you can turn your ideas into products and services. Every product I sell online, I use the Seller platforms, and a lot of Africans and Nigerians and Africans in diaspora use Seller as a platform to sell their product and your service. If you want to sign up with Seller, click on the link in the show notes as you are enjoying this episode. You will thank me later.